Buongiorno, benvenuti a tutti.
Good afternoon and welcome to you all. Thank you very much for being here. Dear President Malagò, dear Sara, Francesca, Andrea, Francesco, and Giovanni, your presence here today for us is very meaningful and precious because it can help us show why it is worth talking about sports. Nelson Mandela said, sports has the power to change the world, has the power to arouse emotions. It speaks to the youth in a language that they can understand. Sports can create hope where there's despair. It's more powerful than governments in breaking race barriers, and it can laugh at all discriminations. So this edition of the meeting is the best occasion because through the provocation of its title has made us wonder what makes us happy and what's the sports got to do with the quest for happiness. Is that an ambitious question? Yes. But those who want to answer that risk looking with positive eyes whatever is connected to sports. A goal, a rivalry, are opportunities to answer this question because, as Kobe Bryant would say, there's much more beyond that. Sports makes people contagious of life and happiness. These champions are first and foremost contagious, not because they win and they're famous, but because they live for the way they live their passion. Cultivating a talent, grow the talent means loving oneself. And that means, that applies to each one of us for each talent and gift. In sports, you can change, improve, continue to be competitive only if you want to make sacrifice, only if you are not happy with your talent, only if you want to share, only if you're humble, only if you are a man. Only by loving what you love doing is it possible to move your own history and other people's history. Is sports connected to everyday life or not? The great champions, through their differences and peculiarities, witness, as a quote said by John Paul II, the real athlete is the one who, through his success, has values that make man great. This is why watching sports, speaking sports, and doing sports is an opportunity for growth. Because, as David Foster Wallace says, genius cannot be reproduced, but inspiration is contagious and varied. And only if you look from very close, the power and vulnerability made vulnerable by beauty means being inspired and reconciled. Thank you.
Allora, grazie Giovanni.
Thank you, Giovanni. There's 3 Giovannis here, and we're not champions, neither of us. Well, he is a champion of another great specialty. To the right and to the left, you see the real champions. Now, let's introduce them, because this topic is absolutely important, funny, and we also have prepared some videos that are like ads, and a video prepared by Lucchetta that gives some explanations in order to tell sports, to talk about sports, and men and women who make history. This is not very simple. We only have 1 hour available, so let's try to be short. Francesca Lollobrigida. You all know her. She is a speed skater, a nice skater and a speed skater. She started and she's a specialist of the mass start. You fight when you skate, yeah? Then Sara Cardin. For many years, she's the woman that has been dreaming for the Olympic Games. She's never done it, and she will do it in 2020 because her discipline, karate, for the first time will be an Olympic specialty in the Olympic Games in Tokyo in 2020. So a big dream coming true. Let's go back here. Because of the haircut, Andrea Lucchetta. He is the volleyball, the famous generation of big volleyball men, those who gave a lot of victories to Italy. He only misses one thing, apart from a part of the haircut, the golden medal, the golden Olympic medal. And this is what he doesn't like. Yeah, definitely. Welcome. There's many of you this afternoon. So it's nice to feel your energy and your spirit. And it's not easy to be here to talk about the importance of sports, having a clean sports, transparent sports, targeting the youth, and I'm really interested in that. He's a great volleyball man, and he's also a great communication man, also because he can speak very fast and very well. So we will also see some nice videos from him. And then last but not least, one of the most beautiful sports, maybe it is not very well known, but when you have major results, you also have many men behind it. Francesco Marrai, sailing champion. So he comes after his father, Antonio. He was very important in 1987 because he was sailing on Azzurra. Maybe you remember that name, that from 1983 onwards made us know the sailing specialty. He sails on a specialty which is less known. And now I'm going to give the floor to Giovanni Malagò on today's topic.
Ciao a tutti.
Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you to the organizers of the meeting who invited me here. I am always very happy to attend a public initiative by involving athletes. With some of my colleagues dealing with sports, as in managers, I had the opportunity to say that the presence of athletes is absolutely fundamental at any meeting. Maybe there was some sort of jealousy in the past. Maybe you can take it for granted, but sports does not exist without athletes. And this always has to be recalled. Also, those who are at power have to remember that Italy is slowly but surely innovating things because athletes are also becoming more and more important from a political point of view in Italy. We also have with us Giovanni Bruno. Every day, I meet many journalists due to different reasons. I don't mean to flatter people, but I can tell you that you have today it is very complex to find a job for the youth. There's many journalists, but they find it hard to find a job, even because there is fewer people decreasing paper newspapers. There's new trends on TV rights, for example. And I can tell you that by far Giovanni Bruno is the person among journalists who is more qualified in different disciplines. He knows everything, but especially he knows everything about minor sports, about the other sports, what we call the other sports. And this is a great compliment for you. He doesn't know much about football, but I'm grateful to him because he was working on public TV, then Sky. Together, we made comments on television during the different Olympic Games. We've been talking about Francesca, about Andrea Lucchetta, lucky, but that was easier. Then the World Man Championship, the first game, Centrale Foro Italico, Italy versus Japan, with the presence of the President of the Republic, who will be with us in order to make people understand how this sport is important in our country. It is by far the sport that gave us most satisfaction, together with water polo. Lucky won everything but not the golden Olympic medal. And he was one of the leaders in the generation of volleyball phenomena. And we have to underline that in Italy, the sports having the largest number of athletes, members of the federation, is the volleyball, especially women's volleyball. The school has been very good in terms of communication. It has disseminated volleyball. We have a wonderful future ahead, and I'm very proud of that. Now, together with the 4 athletes, I invite you to greet the other athletes who are here with us. Another volleyball woman, Anna Maria Marazzi. A big round of applause for her. Today, she's one of the milestones of the Olympic team marketing inside our Olympic committee. Then there is a man who's very close to the topics of this meeting. He is very close to me, and he represents all promotion associations. He comes from the sports group, the Salesian sports group, Giovanni Gallo. Thank you for being here with us, Giovanni. And last but not least, we also have a president who is different from all others. He was vice president of the Italian National Olympic Committee for 4 years, and is the president of a federation which has won the most, the largest number of golden, silver, and bronze medals in all competitions, and which makes us think very positive for the future. And the sport is fencing. We heard about the dream team that won 12 out of the 15 championships in fencing, Giorgio. And then there's going to be a whole panel of experts in fencing. Sports draws increasingly the attention of people, the public opinion, and I'm very happy with that. The people who work with me know that once a week I go and talk in a school or in a university, be they public or private. And I also try to be present in debates, conferences, in the strangest places, because sports has to be done at local level. The Italian National Olympic Committee must be local. I have many colleagues having different expertise. People representing professional athletes, Valentino Rossi or Roger Federer, as you've seen in the exhibition. They are two champions, and they are very different from the sports activities of Sara, Francesca, or Francesco. Because they are military. They belong to the army, so they belong to the sports military team. I'll tell you a very short story, quite an incredible one. After the Second World War, the new government that wrote the draft constitution, which is still valid today in Italy, sent a commissioner to close down the Italian National Olympic Committee. So the Olympic Committee had to be closed after the 20 years in fascism. This person, this commissioner, was called Giulio Nesti. So he had his goal, he had a precise mandate to close the Olympic Committee, but then he realized that the Olympic Committee was totally different. Yes, there was a superhero at that time. But he realized that the Olympic Committee was doing sports, and a very important type of sports. So maybe Lucky knows that much better than me about our ideas, what we would like to be as a sports system, that we would like to participate in training programs, in educational programs in schools. In 1936, we have seen Jeff Chowells in the exhibition winning the 4 golden medals. There was a woman that won the first golden medal. And she's a symbol of that world. Yes, but from 1896 to 1936, has there been a woman? Not really, because even the International Olympic Committee has evolved, modernized, and therefore women came 24 years later than the first modern Olympic Games. Giulio Nesti found it very hard, but he won his battle. He set up an Olympic Committee that was even stronger, with different interests, from the grassroots to the top, technicians, athletes, trainers, and I'm grateful to him, and all the sports system must be grateful to him, because it's one of those periods and pages of sports that need to be acknowledged. Thank you.
In the meantime, we heard how the security of sports stemmed and was born and developed. So now let's see the topic in more detail. I prepared a video devoted to a great champion, and this helps us introduce one of the hardest topics in this field. So achieving one's own goals, and you need training, you need the support of a team, of a trainer, but the final goal is to get a specific result, to achieve a specific goal. And today I was reading the Italian sports newspaper, Gazzetta dello Sport, and I read that Michael Phelps is the greatest record man in the world, and I got the video of an ad, a TV ad, and you can see by watching it, I mean, you forget the brand, but please have a look at it. It's very interesting.
It's the last goodbye, I swear. I have no regrets, for the past is behind me. Tomorrow reminds me just where. Can't quite see the end. How can I rely on my heart if I break it with my own two hands? I heard all you said, don't say anything. It's the last goodbye, I swear.
Allora,
I think it's 50 seconds of goosebumps. Michael Phelps, 28 medals, out of them 23 of gold, world record man. So he's the symbol of Olympics. And this video was shot before the Rio Olympic Games, when he decided to join the Olympics once again. So it was far from the phase of saying no, and Francesca joined the Pyeongchang competition and contest. Well, she was expecting better results. She's a high-speed skating sportswoman, but please let us know, what did you have to do? What did you have to sacrifice for that? Well, first of all, good afternoon, everybody. Well, what can I say after this video? Well, every sports person, and especially a professional one, I mean, can identify with this video. And especially I liked the footage when Phelps can't sleep, because sometimes it's hard to sleep when you are so focused and targeted on your goal. As soon as we open our eyes in the morning, as soon as we wake up, we think about the result. Our whole life is planned, and we have to make plenty of sacrifice. But I mean, you are so motivated. This is your main push and drive. And I mean, actually, it's not that you see that as a sacrifice, because, well, to me, this is a pleasure. This is my passion. This is my sort of main driver. And of course, when you lose a medal, well, when you miss out, you're angry. Did you feel too much pressure, maybe? Well, maybe, I don't know. That's a possibility. Well, if I said no, that would be sort of false. There is pressure. And the first one to put pressure on me is me. So I'm the worst one with myself. But unfortunately, I had competitors that were smarter than me, but you learn from your defeats. I know that I have to work harder. I need to be more ruled and be smarter. So I have another 4 years, and I will improve. So it's a pity not to have Olympics in the summer. So are you really missing the Olympics? Oh, yeah. Well, Francesca, so she does roller skating, line roller skating. So there's plenty of contests. Also in the summer, she doesn't only make high-speed ice skating, but to me, I mean, it's necessary to improve all the time. Even when I'm on the beach, I can't relax. And lucky, what do you want to say? Well, fair enough. It must be like that because when it comes to athletes, well, life is made of that. It's made of preparation all the time, before and after any competition. Well, it's not a case if Phelps is following these sorts of cone of light. It's normal. You're following your own light. So we know during a day what we have to focus on, how sort of you enter the water, how to position the hand, how to move the hand. You reach perfection, or at least you try to reach perfection. And I'm used to a sports team, but again, to me, my only tool is the hand and the ball. So as a team, you have to do everything you can to give your team members, your teammates, the best, to express the best play. How much energy have you used during your energy? Oh my God, so much. I used to do my best to use the biggest energy ever. And I think that the spirituality inside a sports team is very important. And I came from a Salesian experience. It was very useful. I always try to seize the difficulty inside the cloakroom, try then to recover a physical, nervous, mental, and spiritual energy to share that with my teammates, especially after defeats. And I remember that I used to talk with our supporters to make them understand the real sort of reasons for a defeat, because even supporters, through the support, play with us, and so they have to understand the reasons for a defeat. And I remember I spent time with the supporters, and I was told off because I had to talk to my guys. So it was important for me to share all that with supporters and, of course, with teammates, and now with other people, because now we are seen, we champions, as role models, and is equally important. Since your beginnings, you have always tried to distinguish yourself from previous presidents because you decided to sort of put athletes at the very heart of the Italian National Olympic Committee activities. Oh, yes, definitely. And everybody knows that. To me, this is paramount. I've also tried to sort of break up with tradition. Well, somehow I always maybe felt like having missed out on my professional career as an athlete, but well, that was my goal since the start. I'm somehow grateful for this. It's always hard for me to follow athletes when they compete. And I remember when Francesca was in South Korea, we were 2 hours away from our hotel. And I don't know, maybe I'm not interpreting well your thoughts, but while Francesca was talking, I said, okay, I had contestants who were smarter than me. And, actually, the race she joined it's very complex. There is also a lot of strategy that is needed. And the same applies to the race of Elia Viviani in the Omnium, and she was trapped somehow. So please do not remind her. But I felt so bad for her, and I suffered with her by watching the race. And I don't know if I will always enjoy the same level of trust. I hope so, but I think that there is a category that needs more and more support, more than now, even more so, athletes. So my dream is to be replaced sooner or later by an athlete. I'm thinking about Giorgio Scalzo or Valentina Vezzali. You're already member of the Federal Council. Giorgio Pastore, Olympic preparator. I say it in front of Francesca, Sara, Francesco, and Lucky. This is not to be taken for granted. The fact that a great champion will become a great sports executive and manager. Well, even former professional sportsmen need to get trained for that, to become a great sports manager. And so many of them are doing that. There are some specific Olympic management school, for instance, that is attended by many, many former athletes, certainly. This is going to be the future generation of managers, but also Bocconi University, the Polytechnical School, the Lewis University in Rome, and also groups like Corriere dello Sport, Gazzetta, and Sole 24 Ore are offering such training courses, because there are formal aspects, administrative aspects, financial aspects, labor-related aspects, technical issues that need to be mastered, and so it's important to be skilled in that respect. So I think that very soon we're going to see a lot of new things. And so I'm the very first supporter of this new approach. And Giovanni Malagò has involved many, many former athletes for several tasks. And Valentina Vezzali, and you mentioned her, well, when it comes to fencing contests, she's always present. So it's important also to get experience in that respect, little by little. The Secretary General, it's a body that is appointed by the Council, is a former athlete, deputy Olympic champion, is a rowing champion. He made a BA in Australia while he was training for the Olympics. He speaks many foreign languages. And then there is the Lucky Lucchetta generation. So I'm trying to sort of make a new generation of 40-something in order to prepare them for this executive career. So Sara, you were finally able to see your sport listed among the Olympic sports. Oh yeah, I would like to thank the organization for the invitation. I also feel very much honored. As Giovanni said, I won world championships and European championships. Karate will become an official Olympic sport in Tokyo. And to me, it was like a dream, because I remember that I used to run around the kitchen table with a little sword in my hand, crying, champions, we're world champions, we're world champions. And so I've always watched on TV Olympic Games, but never watched karate on that. So I'm so happy to know that it's going to be an Olympic sport. And you know that when it comes to fighting sports, judo has been integrated in the Olympic for a long time, and then taekwondo came later. And so for Sara, this is really a big achievement. So she made history literally when she read that for the very first time karate will be a sport of the Olympics in Tokyo. Well, some people talk about the minor sports or other sports. And when people talk about then non-Olympic sports, it's even harder. I remember very well sacrifice. Karate is not football, so you have to work and to study because you didn't have sponsors, especially at the beginning, and then a woman in the world of karate, which is a male dominant sport, and it was not easy, but still, well, I know that it's not nice to use the word sacrifice, but actually there is no sacrifice because you are so motivated, you forget that. You do it with pleasure. So fatigue becomes a friend, a companion. You start loving anything you do, even the harder things you do. It's something in between addiction, passion, a positive addiction that gets you to a very close contact with the deepest self, and then at the end of the day turns you in something better. So I'm here thanks to sports. So to me, sport is everything. So you use the word passion. Passion is a sort of commonly shared denominator. So Francesco, first you played basketball, then sailing. And yeah, I started with basketball. And well, in Livorno there's a big basketball tradition. Yeah. I mean, we have a successful team. I love many sports. So I remember when I was younger, I used to watch the Olympics and think to myself, oh, how beautiful, fascinating. So finally, you joined the Olympics yourself in Rio. So you've always dreamt about that, and they arrived for you. Yeah, and I feel very close to my mate, and it takes a lot of commitment to reach your own goals, and you need to love your sport and try to do your best to respect sort of your training program and improve, correct mistakes, and really trying to be better than your competitors. So you were so young when you went to Rio, and when you raced for the first time, what did you feel? And have you thought about your pathway towards the Olympics? Because really, you were able to get to heaven somehow. Well, it takes a lot to train for the Olympics. That starts from the moment when you are selected to join the qualifying round for the Olympics. And of course, the Olympics are the dream of any sports person, and you have to get mentally prepared because you know that there's going to be a lot of tension, a lot of, pressure. So you need to do anything you can. And it's like a flashback when you're there. You try to do your best. You know that you have to live the moment and try to do everything you can to achieve your goals. And do you feel proud when you listen to these guys when they speak?
Yes, pretty much so. I do feel very proud. I think that Italy has many different problems, but its most beautiful things include sports. I'll tell you something else. I hope you'll find it interesting. Through the Olympic Committee, Italy has 44 generations and 19 specialties, 64 as a whole. There is football, ranging from football to rowing and specialties in rowing. Inside the 64 silos, let's say, there are 387, maybe next week they will increase, different sports disciplines. By far, Italy is the one having the largest number of them, supervising the largest number. This is both our strong and weak point. Why a strong point? Because Italy is made of history, is a country based on tradition, culture, and values. There are areas where you play different types of sports with the ball. There is traditional sports, which cannot be the case in a country that was created 30 years ago. In fencing, we are leaders in many disciplines that are not practiced in other countries. But this is part and parcel of our features. This is one of our characteristics. Should we concentrate, for example, as they do in Great Britain, just on sports where we can win, or where there are the right conditions to win, clearly we would allocate all the resources to that. And we would have many more resources for that. And now we've got Lucky and Anna Maria playing volleyball. I'll put it bluntly. If Great Britain basketball, despite its link with the United States, is not interesting, is not played, is not practiced, the recruitment of people who are 2 meters tall, like Lucky, for example, could only be recruited in volleyball and not in basketball. And even if, for example, volleyball does not work in Great Britain, this tall guy, what would he do? He could do rowing, for example, and they could win 7 or 8 golden medals at the Olympics. Our system is much appreciated, but we also need to consider that we are among the 10 leading countries in the world, but we need to acknowledge that maybe we are forgetting something in our sports system. This is absolutely true. The investment made by the British in 2012 to achieve the results that they got at the Olympics, but they didn't practice many disciplines that they were obliged to practice. I'll tell you something else. Which can be interesting for you and for our athletes. For the past 20 years, the government has always been allocated the same amount of money, 400 million euro, to the sports system, 387 disciplines at a local level. Great Britain, the UK, is 2/3 of Italy with the same population and allocates the same amount of money for a department called the UK Sports Department, headed by a lady, Nichols, Mrs. Nichols. She doesn't know much about sports. She's not an athlete. She's never been a manager. She knows figures, and she works just like me and all the people that you see here. And she eliminated 250 disciplines. Then, one by one, all the athletes that maybe could not win, she just eliminated the sports. Francesco's sports exists, but volleyball is not practiced in the UK. And to conclude, the UK in 1996 at the Olympics in Atlanta just won 1 golden medal. with Pinsent and Redgrave. Redgrave is taller than Lucky, and he is very, very thin. And he is a legend, just like Michael Phelps, because he won 5 golden medals in 4 Olympic Games. And he is involved in rowing. And he was involved in different teams in rowing. You know that by far the sports having the largest energy consumption are cross-country ski and rowing. This is the only sport that has never changed the rules in modern Olympic Games. Always 2 kilometers for men and women, which is absurd. But this is tradition. They're not going to change it. It's a sort of religion. Mr. Redgrave, when he was interviewed for the newspaper La Repubblica, was following up to the words mentioned by Nichols. Great Britain won over China, 1.3 billion people. Russia had doping problems. Germany is no longer the same as it used to be in the past. For the UK, it was an incredible result. And Redgrave said to me, the sports system which does work is the Italian one, because if my son or my daughter do not have the characteristics as Lucky or Anna Maria, they risk not doing sports. And the sports system is very expensive and burdensome, because you have to go to high school, to universities, and everything has to be paid by families. In Italy, it is the same, but they are also supported by sports associations. We have 130,000 sports associations. What was yours? Accade Monte di Piave. There's many of them. What about you? Circolo Nautico Livorno. And you, Lucky, where did you start? Which sports association? Salesian Institute in Mogliano Veneto. And I started in a parish.
E a proposito di come si comincia.
Now, talking about how you start becoming an athlete, I'll show you another video. This is also taken from an ad. In Phelps' video, you see that the brand comes out at the end only. And here in this video, you can see a concept of the perfection of the sports gesture. And it is wonderful to see that. This video is on an athlete doing gymnastics, but it talks about this athlete's life while the athlete is jumping.
It's been all about
You're running, you punch the board, and you're on the floor. All of a sudden, you're on your feet. blink and you're on the floor. All of a sudden, you're on your feet.
Ecco, che cos'è la perfezione?
So, what is perfection? This is the concept of a jump. This is Jordan Child. She was second after base in the Pan American Games. But beyond what she does, you see that you see her lives when she got injured, when she fell down, when she was playing. So this is the beginning of something that they are doing. So, Francesco, you started with basketball, now you're doing sailing, but now first you were doing the lasers, then you did the Olympic Games. What are you doing now? Also with reference to the video we just watched. I have to say that sports as such really teaches quite a lot. In your life, especially when you're young, it is important to do many sports disciplines in order to get in contact with all of them, to understand how each sport is working. And I believe that the most important teaching of sports is making the youth grow properly and helping them tackle their problems, their difficulties, because this is also life. Sports is the greatest teacher in that context. To me, sailing has taught me quite a lot. I've always had competitions with people who are older than me, people who are stronger, and therefore I have always had to overcome my problems, my difficulties, and to find the right motivation in me. And also to meet to do everything in order to achieve results. I hope I will be able to do another, to participate in another Olympic game, to reach some of the goals that I had since I was a child. And I hope that my career will continue. That would be a great dream to come true. There is also another great dream that you have. Yes, in sailing, in addition to the Olympic Games, you also have many other contests like the American Cup, which is the most ancient competition worldwide. I would really like to participate in the America's Cup with Luna Rossa, which is the Italian team by excellence. My father worked with this wonderful team. I got some proposals, and I hope I can make this dream come true. Yeah, we all hope so. We all hope so. Congratulations. So Sara's dreams are in 2020. But do you think you've been, now you've had success, I mean, are you now happy with the fact that you will participate in the Olympic Games? But with reference to this video, can you see yourself in that video? Can you see yourself when you were a kid, when you won, when you lost? Yeah, definitely. I mean that I think that each one of us in a very important contest competition, there is that moment before starting the competition where you relive your story, because we are athletes, but first and foremost, we are people. And I think that striking a right balance between the two, between being a person and being an athlete, is of the utmost importance. I've personally always fought battles in karate, and that also taught me to fight in life, because fighting, doing martial arts, is like having a dialogue with yourself and with the people in front of you. I've never just wanted to participate. I've always wanted to win, but you have to strike a balance between winning and having respect for your competitor. I owe much to karate because when you do karate, you can become more sure about yourself, which to a woman means acquiring a lot of self-esteem. So I think about all the people who helped me over the years. I started my grandfather, who was the first person to believe in me because my mother told me, you have to be a dancer. And so I went dancing for a month, and then she understood that dancing was not for me. And then she said, no, you have to do artistic gym. But I was watching the films with Bruce Lee and Karate Kid, and so since I didn't have a bent for dancing, I have to thank my grandfather because he really did believe in me. Oftentimes, when you reach the top, you tend to forget all the other people that are behind you. In your team, there's always your parents. So I'm grateful to everyone who has helped me to achieve all my results. As underlined by President Malagò, the family is of the utmost importance. Sports in Italy is first supported by families and then by the Olympic Committee. Francesca, how did you start? Her father is also a trainer. Yeah. So you suffered from that. No, sports has always been in my family. My father was an athlete, and he is my trainer, and his father was skating. And you don't want to change your father now. When I was a kid, they gave me the opportunity to practice other sports. I also started dancing. And when I watch the pictures, I say, good God, thank God I stopped dancing. And changing and doing ice skating to do the Olympic Games I was influenced by my father. When I finished school, I would go with him by car. So we would drive 700 kilometers to go ice skating during the weekend and train. She is from Frascati, and from Frascati near Rome, I had to go up to the north of Italy in the mountains. So I need to thank my family for that, because without them, I wouldn't have started skating and I wouldn't have continued. And even now, without my trainer, as in my father, I wouldn't be here to talk about my success and defeats. But how can your father train you? Everyone asks me. But when I'm at home, he's my father. When I'm skating, he's my trainer. It's two different things, and I keep that separate. How many times did you get angry with him, with your father? Many. He got angrier with you than you at him. Well, definitely, because in the end, I always tell him he's right. But how did you change from speed skating, long track, to ice skating? I never tried a shorter track. And I didn't do that because I had to go further away to train. So you could have done a rowing because everything was very close. Even for roller skating, there are not many facilities in Rome, but I don't have to complain. But I could skate everywhere. If you have a passion, you don't complain because you lack facilities or sports halls. If you have a passion, you do manage to practice your sports. I started in a parish, so I can't complain, honestly. Andrea, you heard these athletes. You are a communicator. You are experienced. How can you summarize their career compared to yours? And what can your career teach to the person who are starting just now? Also, there's this difference between the British world focusing on something where you can have successful results for sure, and the Italian system, which is totally different. Everything that has been said and what you have seen in this wonderful exhibition with athletes can communicate values of ethics. Reaching the top, and this has been said in the press conference in Barcelona, is a way to turn the pyramid upside down. So the iceberg has to be turned upside down. Those who are at the top on the iceberg have to understand that under the floating line there are many people, parents making sacrifices, volunteers opening up sports halls, trainers, educators who want young people to practice sport. So I've often wondered at the end of my career what I could give back to my world, and I took whatever I was given by my parents, by my team, by my trainers, to open up a playing field for kids. And I started to work with more than 16,000 kids in this recreation center, which I opened, where I was playing volleyball. So I got in contact with the kids. In short, I wanted to build something that could stay there forever for the youth. I didn't want to have it like a self-celebration. I wanted to thank all those who gave me the courage to understand the importance of the team spirit. And therefore, I used the language of cartoons in order to attract the kids. And then I became Lucky, the trainer, who can make the youth practice more than 50 sports. Through this cartoon, I teach the importance of the trilogy represented by Giovanni, because in the Olympics we have, for example, a torchbearer. I chose the Marble Stadium in the third series to make people understand that there is a wonderful way to combine the Olympic Games and the Paralympic Games. And these cartoons were awarded 2 prizes. Some of my friends also participated in the cartoon, Oscar De Pellegrini and Judy Versace, Myers, Yuri Keki, Antonio Rossi. And they all participated because they are people who give a lot to the world of sports, and they can still give a lot. So this is very important. We have to continue to play, to convey values, and have the possibility to change the language so that younger generations can learn how you can really make the team spirit live and Olympia spirit live inside each one of us. Now, let's show this video. We also talk a lot about inclusiveness.
sono nato su una pista. Sono nato sulle ruote. Mi chiamo Brent Winters. Sono di Silverstone, Inghilterra. Il mio papà era un pilota e io sono cresciuto a latte e benzina. I miei giochi erano la bici e la chiave inglese. Non sono stato forzato in niente, ma quando vedi le coppe sulle mensole, le foto, vivi l'entusiasmo della gente, è normale che tu venga attratto da quel mondo. E quello era il mio mondo.
Kids take time to discover. Kids can break before you. Teardrops help him recover. Dad's hands help him improve. Until we're older, away we'll go, and all the effort to walk along down the boulevard so high. The breathless times, amazing things so rise. We can defy the dangers in this skies. Oh,
Senza i materiali all'avanguardia è difficile. È il cane che si morde la coda. Ma io vengo dalle corse e quel mondo offre soluzioni inaspettate. Io e mio padre, infatti, abbiamo i mezzi tecnici e i materiali.
Oh! 1:14:51.
Che soddisfazione vederla qualificarsi con le mie protesi.
Sono orgoglioso di te.
Stonehenge. È il mio portafortuna.
Io ti seguo in questa avventura dell'Ironman. Però promettimi che tu poi mi seguirai nelle Paralimpiadi.
Che i primi giochi olimpici e paraolimpici studenteschi
Abbiano inizio.
Beh, a questo punto possiamo anche eventualmente sfumare, anche perché...
Okay, maybe we can stop here. Can we stop the video, please?
Se riusciamo a interrompere un attimo il filmato.
Can you please stop the film? So what have you seen at the beginning? You've seen the ability of a parent who wants to support this guy who's lost his legs, and through the Paralympic Games, he can stand up again. But the right message was that the president of the Olympic Committee, and possibly in the future, Malagò is going to be in a cartoon, gives a message of inclusion. So the true value of sports can also include and can also give the opportunity to make dreams come true, because Brent can no longer ride a bike, but he becomes a Paralympic athlete, and he will win through hockey, but especially with M-bike, and his Paralympic dream will come true. So we've got many different characters like Alessandro Zanardi and many others, and there's a very famous athlete who is gonna open the Olympic Games. In the screenplay and in the second series of Spike Team, Sir Redgrave is inside the Spike Team because there's a rowing contest. So I'm really very happy with that, because we have also put it in the second series. We've talked about Michael Phelps, but what Giovanni said, recalling Redgrave, is that the Olympia man is Silver Redgrave, and it's perfect. Right. I want to thank you all, and I'm going to make a couple of remarks because he was speaking about Oscar, who is very important in the Paralympic Games. There's a Paralympic discipline which every athlete can do, which is archery. Archery can also be done in the Paralympic Games. And a woman, for example, can also beat a man. And think also that there are women athletes who have won a golden Olympic medal by competing against men. To conclude, I see many young people here. G-sports, practice sports. You don't really need to become athletes like the people here, but I think that this is going to help you live better. This is also confirmed by statistics. It will help you from a psychological point of view. And if you can't do sports at an amatorial level, help people support the sports associations as volunteers, because you will be happy with that, because you will be happy with what you can do. Thank you very much to the meeting for inviting us here. Thank you very much, Giovanni. Before giving the floor to Giovanni, I want to give the floor to the president of the Fencing Federation, Giorgio.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your kind invitation. Thanks to President Malagò that allowed me to take the floor to promote the culture of inclusion and integration through sports. I would like to talk about fencing, not specifically as Olympic sports, but as a sport that allowed Italy to win important medals in China. And also, I would like to go back to Valentina Vezzali and In particular, when she said that she started understanding organization behind sports event 30 years after being a professional sportswoman. So this links up with the topic raised beforehand about sportsmen turning into sports manager. So well, I want to tell you about a project that involved 4 cities: Bari, Naples, Reggio Calabria, and Palermo. And these are cities where there are some problematic areas. We involved 2,800 boys and girls that started practicing fencing, and not simply to practice some sports, but specifically to learn the rules of sports and the discipline that comes with sports. Thanks to a memorandum of understanding between the Ministry of Defense and the Cultural Pontifical Council, it was possible to launch this project. And we had the Italian Army, as well as some local universities, as some bishop entities and the federation that worked together to carry out this project. So hundreds of children were involved, and that was a minimal fact. And the fact that fencing was chosen as sports to be used to carry out and convey these values was very important to us, and it has a meaning. So again, the final goal is to train children to sports, and we decided to attend schools and children from schools in inner cities in the 4 involved towns. And we also worked a lot on discipline, complying with the ruling oneself, equal opportunities, physical training, because physical training is very important also to fight against obesity in children. So that was a way for us also to train children on several issues. And the world of education gave a contribution and tried to open up to collaboration with other entities and players. So beyond the sports content of this project, it was a precious opportunity to get together several players and make them cooperate together. And sometimes, oddly enough, youngsters find it easier to talk to each other. On the other hand, players and sort of entities have more problems in communicating with each other. Well, it was absolutely important to train young people and also at the same time to put several players get together, work together. So schools worked with regional educational offices, with universities, with the armies, and with, for instance, diocesan administrations, and it was a great success. And moreover, also the sort of educational outcome improved, and school results improved in involved children. So that was so positive, a big success for us. So that would be great to be able to keep on working on this kind of project. So because first of all, many children were able to practice sports, to get to know other children, and thousands of young girls got to know a sport, and so many administrative players were involved in common work. And so now we're going through a break, but we want to repeat this project. The animator of this project, the model of this project in Naples was so excited. And in September, a video will be presented about these projects. So this is another proof of the fact that, well, excellence and top results are very important, but at the same time, sports need to be considered and developed as a tool of social integration. It should be aimed at deprived people, at disadvantaged people. And so, again, we should not exclude anybody. And also, cost should be no object should be not a criterion to include or exclude. So it was great to let so many young people get to know fencing. So there was a physical activity, but also ethical activity, because a lot of training on values was done. So the fact of deciding to produce a video is great. And also I want to seize this opportunity to thank the Army, because it joined successfully the project, and so really it was a great success. And fencing has been so successful in Italy. Fencing sportsmen so got so many medals during the latest, greatest competitions. That is really a great pride for us. Let's see the video. So we carried out this activity in 4 schools of Palermo in inner cities, located in the suburbs, where sports activities are seen not only from a physical point of view, but also from an educational point of view. So again, we want to start here from Palermo, which is the capital city of the region, but we are going to involve another 350 pupils from 8 to 12 years of age to educate children about rules and about sports. And so we're going to involve children all over Sicily. Yeah, fencing, and President Scalzo knows that far too well. That is a great sport, and I share the values that are represented by fencing. Well, fencing is very close to military activity somehow, and we have then several disciplines that are practiced under the umbrella of fencing, and actually they come from a military tradition. And actually in the past there was a fencing school in the Rome city center that was a military school.
Voce, a spegnere la luce, a commentare in pace ogni pallottola nell'aria, ogni cadavere in un fosso. Ci sono stati uomini che passo dopo passo hanno lasciato un segno con coraggio e con impegno, con dedizione contro un'istituzione organizzata. Cosa nostra, cosa vostra, cosa è vostro è nostra. La libertà di dire che gli occhi sono fatti per guardare, la bocca per parlare, le orecchie ascoltano. Non solo musica, non solo musica. La testa si gira, è giusta, la mira, ragiona. A volte condanna, a volte perdona.
Grazie Presidente.
Thank you, Mr. President. So you can close. Yes, I will be very short. And I think this was such a precious and beautiful meeting with all of you. It was great for me to see how many things you can touch upon by talking about sports, because first of all, we heard a lot about your own personal experiences. Francesco says that sports teaches you to live your daily life in a healthy way. And Francesca said, I learned to have a better dialogue with myself and with the others and to improve my own life. Francesca says, as soon as you wake up, well, provided that you were able to sleep, you always think about improving, so it's not sacrifice. I'm just happy to do it. And Andrea, well, said, I got so much that I told myself I had to give something back. So it's great to see this gratefulness. And moreover, when it comes to sports, well, the human side comes out. So any sports person is first of all a man or a woman. So athletes are key because sports is made by men and women, so by people. It's all about people, and this has to do with the start of the meeting that talks about the quest for happiness that has to do with men first and foremost. So we made the exhibition, and to us, the sports has a lot to do with this quest for happiness. So I thank these round of panelists. Thanks to you for coming and for your attention. And well, we would like to continue the story. And the meeting is a unique event because everything is free of charge. Anything, the exhibitions, and any facility, everything apart from catering and food and drinks are for free. So this is for free for anybody. And do you know how is this possible? Well, this is possible because mating comes from the contribution of each one of us, from sort of exhibition curators, artists, panelists, everybody. So we all give something to the mating: time, energy, talents, money. So this year, this is possible to give a contribution through donations. So all through the mating fairgrounds, you will find a special sort of areas with donate now. So please donate to our staff with a special magenta t-shirt. And so I think that it's really worth donating. And so please donate. And so thank you very much again for coming. And so see you next year. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.